Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. And we're really glad that you're here, whether you're watching us live or if you're listening to us later on or you're watching us live later on. However you're watching us, we're really glad.
As long as you're alive. I think that's the moral of the story.
No.
No? You want dead people to watch too?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't mind. I like dead people.
Alrighty
You know
then.
this.
All right.
Anyway, we're glad that you decided to join us today.
Oh,
All right, we have a few comments already. Joe Conjal
Okay.
says, "Hi, Rob and Joan. Hey,
Hey, Joe.
Joe, how are you doing? Marjorie Deering says, present. Hello. Hi,
Hello,
Marjorie.
Hey, she gave us
Bright
a present.
Bright
Thank
and
you.
early.
Thank you.
Paul Hollis
Hey,
says,
Paul.
good evening, Rob and Joan. Hello, Paul. We're so glad that you're all here.
Well, Bill Nelson is saying hi.
Oh, well.
Hi, Bill.
Oh, Bill Nelson said, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Bill. We're glad you're back in the audience with us.
Okay, just a reminder, tomorrow night, WDJY FM radio in Atlanta, 99.1 if you live there. Otherwise, www.wdjyfm.com, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And tomorrow night's show is Adam Gaffin. And then on Saturday, don't forget episode rewind, 5:30 p.m. I made a mistake last week. I announced the wrong show. So this week is actually a tribute to Caleb Purtle. So you don't want to miss that.
Last week was Maria de Blasi, who's
Yeah,
a
sorry,
lovely
Maria.
young woman, and
Yes.
glad that she had her
Great
room
author.
on. Yes, she is.
And then next Wednesday, the 14th, Valentine's Day, is a pre-recorded show, and it's going to be our another UK author, published by CAAB Publishing in London. It's David Clegg is our interview for that night, and so it'd be great for you to join us for that as well.
George Dismuke says, okay, I'm here. Nadine is here. Daisy is here. Gizmo is here. Hello, George. Hi, Nadine. We love you, and woof woof. Okay, Joe Conchal said, how many W's is that again?
That's www.wdjyfm.com, www.
It is not.
Oh, well, forget the last W's, but
George Dismuke said, heard from Vincent today, says he is high and dry.
high and dry.
Okay.
That's good.
I thought you were going to say he says he's high, and I was like, well, he does live in Southern California. Yeah, that's good. Joyce Shelton. Oh,
Whoop, got it. Okay.
excuse me. I'm sorry.
That's nothing to sneeze at. Okay.
No. Joyce Shelton York says, hi, Rob and Joan.
Hi, Joy. This
Hi,
was a
Joy.
silly night. I don't know.
I don't know.
We've been working too hard writing, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, and the downloads this last 30 days, top 6 countries now, U.S., UK is rolling up there. They've got a greater percentage. They're going in real strong in second place there, the UK. Bangladesh is next. India, Canada, and Australia is real close behind Canada. So come on, Australia, share the news. Oh, speaking of news, new release, February 20th. Want to remind everybody about book 21 in the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles series. That's Who Mourns Electra, and that's by C.W. Hawes. And if you go to www.cwhawes.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get an early opportunity to sign up for that book. March 3rd is Blast Off with Gabby and Maddox release. And that's a children's series by Steve Altier.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go to www.stevealtier.com, that's ALTIER.com, it is available for pre-order. So I think he has a newsletter as well.
And look at what we got from George. Return of the Jaguar, number 4.
Yep.
By George Dismukes. You can own one too. They're available on Amazon.
Available on Amazon. Return of the Jaguar. The whole series is there, plus some more other goodies. Also, in the weeks to come, the next week we have a pre-record, but the week after we'll give you more details. But Joy York has a new book, at least one new book coming out. And Joe Allen Ash has one coming out. She just revealed the cover on it the other day, and it looks very good. So we'll have more details on those books as well.
Joy has 2 books coming out.
Yeah. Okay. So
actually, I'm sure she does. Yes. Well,
would you like to introduce our guest?
I would like to. Tonight we have a wonderful guest from Boston, Massachusetts, where you all know I'm originally from. He's a poet and an author of short stories. And
he is also published by a UK-based publisher.
For his short stories.
CAAB Publishing. Yeah, for his short stories. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Rob and Joan. How are you?
Welcome.
That was abrupt, wasn't it?
That was a surprise attack, wasn't it?
A little bit. It's all right. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you for being on.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. If you weren't on, we wouldn't have a show.
No, we'd be sitting here making jokes the whole time. Nobody would watch.
No, they wouldn't, because they're not funny jokes. Just saying. Sorry. So.
Now, Peter, you thought they were funny, right?
I thought they were funny. I was laughing. I'm not sure if I was here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. This one.
Okay.
It's wonderful to watch us fumble through the first few minutes of the show.
Oh, boy.
Oh, anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, Peter. You know, when you first started writing, why you write, what you like to write, that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think I started writing pretty early age. Elementary school assignments, I always loved to write. Like, it was just a good opportunity to express yourself when it didn't make sense other places to do so. So, but assignments about getting hurt one time, you just write it. Everyone writes the shortest thing possible. I would write the longest thing possible. And then, but I didn't do it for fun until probably I was around 15. And I started getting more intense into reading more serious stuff beyond just Steinbeck, and then getting into existential authors and serialist authors. And kind of having an eye-opening experience where I thought I was going to die, basically. I woke up and the car was spinning around on a highway. And in the middle of 4 a.m. in Ohio, we were driving to visit my brother in Kentucky, and then we're going on to Florida. And I probably shouldn't say, but my mother fell asleep at the wheel, and
wow.
No one got hurt. But I think I hit my head a little bit, or maybe my shoulder. My parents were fine. The car was a little battered, not horribly. We continued on our drive a little bit after. A policeman stopped and asked how we were. And we said we slipped on ice. But driving the next morning, just that kind of satori, the awakening experience of just wow, I just could have died, what am I doing? I'm only 15 at that point, but still, what am I doing with my life? I know it sounds silly now as a 43-year-old, but what am I doing with my life as a 15-year-old? Am I doing what I want? Am I just doing what is expected of me? I was getting good grades, I was doing sports, doing the stuff, checking all the boxes, and I didn't love it. It was okay. I like sports when I'm before it got serious, and then it gets more intense as you get in high school. And so I think that I just realized I wanted, it just all of a sudden occurred to me about a week later, driving home in Richmond in the traffic jam. I started looking around at all the cars passing, and I started seeing people inside the cars and all these different stories passing me by. And I made up stories about them in my head. And I was I want to be an author. That's what I want to do.
Oh,
that's cool.
That's interesting.
That's
interesting. Right? I used to do the same thing. Ride down the road and look at all the houses and the cars and say, those are all people. They all have stories. They all have life.
Their own worlds. Yeah.
What are they doing? What are they thinking? Oh, we have a couple of comments here. Joe Condrel said, we'd still watch. Hard to look away from a train wreck, LOL. Yeah, thanks, Joe.
True enough. True enough.
Yeah.
And we just heard about a car wreck. George Dismuke says, okay, Peter, what is that thing behind you on your left side?
Oh, my left side. Oh, I thought my wife got that. I thought that was a bunch of ants near a puddle or something. But I guess it's like a aerial view of a beach. Initially, yeah. It's actually looks better in person than probably on the screen.
It looks fine to me. Yeah. I thought it looked like a beach. Is that what you're talking about, George? Because on the other side is a sofa cushion and a curtain.
His left side, so I think he's talking about
probably my right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both the same, similar. There's another one over there that has more beach umbrellas.
He's talking about the curtains.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway.
The navy blue things are curtains, and then those are sofa pillows in front of those. And then
the other is the beach.
The other is beach scene.
Solved.
Deep questions tonight. So don't you think, really though, most 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, teenagers have deep, existential thoughts? I think that's when we think those kind of things the most. I used to go with my friends. Oh, you'll like this because you're from Boston. I used to go with my friends to the park and stand on top of the fountain, and we'd talk Shakespeare scenes to each other. Sure. Sounds weird. You were a very weird young lady, Joan. Marjorie Deering said, Peter, your writing is done in so many forms. Novels, short fiction, op-eds, poetry, and academic essays. Do you have a favorite?
Not really, because it just depends on the day, really. When I sit down by the typewriter, it really just depends how I'm feeling at that day.
I was going to actually ask you one of the same things. Your first published work was Those Who Hold Up the Earth, and that was a book of poems.
That's a great cover.
I like the cover too.
Thank you. Greg Orfanos is a great illustrator and artist. He designed that. Well, he did the artwork behind that.
And when did you write that?
I wrote it probably in 2019, put it together then, and then submitted it to a couple places, and then Kelsay Books accepted it. But it's kind of like everything that I thought it was like my greatest hit, so to speak, of things I've been writing since my 20s and 30s, and then putting it all together. The first go at
it. Of your work.
Yeah.
Up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no common theme to all the poems. It was just everything out of your subconscious, kind of, I think.
Yeah, I guess there kind of was a little bit. At least I sold it that way and I marketed it that way. Like it kind of like the name of the book, Those Who Hold Up the Earth, a recognition of people who are forgotten throughout the United States and throughout the world, as much as I could represent that sentiment. Not in every poem, but probably that was a running theme throughout many of them. Like, for instance, rickshaw drivers in Bangladesh, or just, dishwashers, or people working at Papagenos all night.
That's a Boston reference. Papagenos.
Gotta love it.
Is that a gangster,
I do, actually.
A mobster?
No, it's a pizza place.
Oh, a regular pizza place. Okay.
That's interesting. I like that. I mean, I think about that myself a lot, but I didn't think about it that way. But yeah, the street sweepers.
The people that keep things running for us.
Yeah. Everybody that does all those things that have to be done in order for life to go on.
Right.
If you go to Disney World, there are all those employees cleaning the streets and bringing your food and letting you on the ride, taking care of the ride. Yeah, it's just It's a lot more than
not doing anything,
you singing It's a Small World after all. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's deep. Joe Conjal says, another take on Marjorie's question, Peter. When asked, would you refer to yourself as a poet or a fiction writer first?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Depends. Like right now, I'd say fiction writer because like I'm trying to focus on that. I'm trying to build up a new novel, kind of. And I haven't written too much poetry in the past like 6 months, here and there maybe when I have time. But that's my focus right now. But I think it like depends what I'm doing at the time. Yeah, that's a good question though.
So right now you're writing a novel.
Trying to, yeah.
It's in the works.
Yeah.
Of course, you have a young family.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly. Yeah.
So it's not a lot of your time.
And you have a job, a full-time job. So.
Yeah.
What is it about?
It's hard to. I don't know if I want to give it away. It's kind of.
You don't have to.
I think I have something like finished. I'm trying to like find a publisher for, but this is more, and that's more autobiographical a little bit. Well, as a taste of that at least, and this is trying to get away from that more. Like I'll just give it broad. It's like about a Malaysian immigrant, and he wins the Mega Millions. All of a sudden, he's kind of doing nothing. He's a 20-year-old, and he's not doing much. He's an artist. He's dropped out of mass art, and he's just from a kind of a poor family. His mother works all the time, 3 jobs, and his father just took off to Texas for another job. So all of a sudden, he's at a temp agency, and he somehow wins the Mega Millions because his boss promised to split the winnings if they won, because they're going to pay for it together and then split the winnings if they won. And it's kind of what happens to him after that. And what does he do with the money? And how does his life change?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Have you ever read any statistics on what happens to people who win the Mega Millions?
I should. That's a good idea.
You should.
I've heard anecdotal, well, not merely anecdotally. I thought I heard somewhere that they usually like throw their money away pretty quickly, and their life goes to, I don't know if I can swear, but it goes downhill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that right? Do you know if that's right, or is that?
Yeah, the vast majority don't have the money within the first few years. And a lot of it goes to people asking them for money, and they give it away. So,
because they feel like they have a lot.
They feel like they have a lot, and they're not managing it. They're not investing it. They're not being wise with it. And so then it's gone.
Right.
They may have a new house or a new car or something like that, but then that's it,
Yeah.
So interesting, huh? I haven't read about any of these people recently that have won like close to $1 billion or over $1 billion, which most of that actually goes to taxes, but that's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
So Joe Conjal has a question. I've always wondered, could a poet be a pantser?
Yes. Because that's when you write spontaneously without planning, right? So yeah, I think I rarely ever plan to what I'm going to write, unless I'm like something really is on my mind. I'm like, I have to write about that, but like not usually. That's kind of very spontaneous for me. For fiction though, I think it's a little different. It's more like it's kind of hybrid. I think I have a rough idea of where it's going to go, but not really sure 100% at all.
Oh, like you just said, you've got a story in your head about a young man who wins the Mega Millions. He's from an immigrant family, and it's now what? How is he going to spend that money? What's he going to do? What will the end be? You don't know.
Right. Exactly.
You're in it for the ride yourself. That's what a pantser does.
I'm curious where it's going to go. Yeah.
Let's see where we go.
Hey, and you know where we need to go right now?
Yeah, to commercial.
We have to go to our first commercial break. When we come back, Peter's going to read a poem and a passage from one of his stories, right?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Very good, then. We're looking forward to that. Don't go anywhere, anybody.
We'll be right back.
Be right back.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, the Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. 2 new enemies await him in the small coal mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than 3-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
And that last commercial was for Enigma Tracer by Brakefield and Berkey. You can get that at Amazon.
Marjorie Deering says, writing a novel is such a lengthy commitment. When you hit a writer's roadblock, you can always fill that time with writing poetry, sort of multitasking.
It's very true, Marjorie.
That's true, Marjorie. And Marjorie, for such a lovely person, you certainly write very blood-curdling books. That werewolf one was Marjorie's book.
The Horror Within.
The Horror Within. Yeah. Scary. Very scary stuff.
Scary stuff. So, would you like to read now? Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
What you're reading from?
Yeah, so I think I'll start with part of a short story called Initials. It's a little autobiographical, a little bit, in that someone did kill himself in the house that I was brought up in, but it kind of stops there. And I'm going to start kind of near the middle.
Wait a minute. What did you just say?
Someone killed himself right before we moved into the house where I grew up.
Really?
There was a suicide?
Suicide, yeah.
In the house that you grew up in?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay, and so this is from a short story about that?
It's not really about, it's based a little loosely on that, but it's kind of based loosely off of that it comes off of that, but not the story itself isn't based off. It's fully fiction. Yeah.
It's that night and other stories.
And the cover shows you in the traffic jam
after
looking in all the other cars, right?
Yeah, that's supposed to be part of that night. There's elements of different stories in there.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
There's a platypus. There's a platypus. So one of them, a couple adopts a platypus and they can't get rid of it. And then that night is a woman, a professor going to speak at somewhere, and then she gets heckled by white supremacists. And then all these different things are just represented in there.
Cool.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
But yeah, so this is kind of the middle, and this person, Christopher Francis Flaherty, He left his house that he grew up in, and someone killed himself in there a long time ago. And the new people in there heard noises, and they've contacted him before. And I'll just leave it at that, and I'll start here. It was a while until I heard from them again. The weather was warm. Air conditioners were humming. It was early July. They asked to meet at the Starbucks near their house. When I met them, they seemed visibly distraught. The woman's once tan skin was pallor, and the man seemed to have lost a substantial amount of weight. The whites of his serious eyes shone out in panic from his gaunt face. They cut right to the chase. After getting coffees, Jill alleged, "Mr. Flaherty, there's something you're not telling us." "What do you mean? I was kind enough to divulge much of my past to each of you, perfect strangers, back in February. Honestly, I don't know what you two are after." They exchanged glances. Jill began to speak, but her husband put up his hand. In a slow, deliberate tone, as if premeditated, he said, "Mr. Flaherty, we have been completely forthcoming with you about our home, our problems with the basement, and the mysterious initials. We looked up the municipal records online, then went to City Hall to confirm, and then even reached out to the remaining relatives of—" "Don't act like you don't know," Jill alleged in a shrill voice. "You're the bastard who's keeping us awake at night." Anger seethed in her eyes, and her husband tried to calm her. "Basically, the gig is up," the man said. "CFF is Christopher Francis Flaherty, the name of the young man who killed himself in 1982. That is you."
Wow. That is you.
And it continues after that, but just a little piece of it.
Very
and then
good.
this is a poem from Empire's End. This is published by Alien Buddha Press. It's called "There Has to Be a Better Way to Die." During COVID, a couple of people pretty close to me, 2 aunts, passed away. Silver cells abound in glistening field. The body turns, a whooping crane listens. Fish beneath the shadowed surface dart in seizure spasms. Crane's beak jabs into the water, lacerating gills. Hairless, mouth ajar, dark circles underneath the eyes, stomach in rebellion, T cells on strike. There has to be a better way to die. Listless, pallor, eyes fluttering, hallucinating, blind, cancer in recession. It doesn't matter anymore. There has to be a better way to die. Feeding tubes, morphine, high fever, delirium, tired like Vishnu, imbibing all the world's suffering. There has to be a better way to die.
Well, that was sobering. I'm sorry you lost 2 aunts from COVID.
Yeah.
Thank you. During COVID, not really from COVID, but.
Oh, really? During
that time
COVID.
period.
Yeah.
That was a tough time to lose people, for sure. You know, not being able to get together or go anywhere.
Yeah, my wife was pregnant then, so I didn't want to get too close to people because she was just about to give birth. So I didn't even go inside. I went outside afterwards to the get together, which was outside, but I didn't go inside to the wake and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I understand why. You have to protect your wife and your baby, your yet to be born baby.
Yes.
It was a really difficult time.
Indeed.
Joe Conjal says, now you piqued Joan's interest because you said suicide. Wait.
Right.
You lived in a house.
Somebody died? Ghosties.
Can I come over? George Disnew says, contrary to popular belief, not all werewolves are male. I knew one. I knew who it was, George. I knew one that was female. At least I think she was. Oh
boy.
Poor Deborah. Joe Conjal said, very interesting reading. Yeah. Yeah, the poem was really sad. Really, really sad. But I liked it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of heart.
Yeah, a lot of heart. Yeah. But you could feel, pain.
Right. So that's one of the ones in Empire's End. About how many, I know it depends on how long they are, but about how many poems would you say are in Empire's End?
Probably 20 to 25, I think.
Okay.
About 90 pages, not too long.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. And that brings up a question, That Night and Other Stories. How many stories are in That Night?
Let's see. I would say that's probably about the same, 20 to 25. Most of them aren't too long. Some of them are only a page. Some of them are like 10 to 15 pages. So they vary quite a bit. Some are like flash and some are full short stories.
And you have all different kinds of stories in there?
Yeah. From
all different kinds of genres, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the publishers really liked the book that I submitted to, but they were like, "There's no running theme, really. It's like a kaleidoscope." So sorry, but
right.
I get that.
Did your publishers help you with your covers?
They helped design it, but I used the same guy, Greg Orfanos, that I used for my first book to design both of them.
Okay.
Just because I went into a cafe near the Boston area in Salem, Gulu Gulu, and I saw his art a long time ago, and I was like, "Wow, that's really amazing! Like, I really like that. It should be in, MFA or somewhere, Museum of Fine Art in Boston, or somewhere really good." Of course, he's probably. I mean, I don't think that's happening, and so I contacted him when I had my first book published, and since then we've kind of been in touch.
That's good.
Excellent.
That's good. Well, they're all three very nice covers.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
And Salem's down in my neck of the woods where I grew up on the South Shore.
Actually, it's North Shore. Actually,
North Shore.
Yeah.
I like Salem. Marjorie Deering says, "Thanks, Joan. The horror within is hair-raising, yes, but intentionally not graphically gory. No, it's all in your head. It makes you scared in your head. It's psychological horror. It's horror done my way, and I'm thrilled that a lot of people are enjoying that kind of presentation." Yeah, I think not graphically anything is always better for the reader, because the reader then can imagine how they want to see it. You know what I mean? I mean, most people have pretty good imaginations. Joe Conjo wants to know, how involved are you with the marketing of your books?
Well, with independent publishers, usually a lot of that's on the writer. That's probably the biggest drawback of indie publishers, I think, for the most part. But though CAAB, I think, has been very helpful, probably the most helpful, and like suggesting great suggestions, setting up interviews, not exactly setting up with you, but leading me to you guys, and also with a small magazine, a literary magazine. She said I was set up with them. And just all this good information to use. So they've been the most helpful out of like Kelsay Books or Alien Buddha Press, to be blunt. And
CAAB got in touch with us and asked us if we would consider having any of their authors on the program. We said, sure, have them write us and, email us, and we'll.
So they are looking to expand.
Yes. And also they set us up with the same magazine. The magazine's going to do an article about us in the spring sometime. So
pretty soon.
Cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And Joe says, "Why am I not surprised that you grew up near Salem, LOL. Have you ever seen a picture of the state of Massachusetts? It's like, you kind of grew up near
everybody grows up near Salem.
I was born in Boston. Yeah, it's a pretty small state. I mean, it's not Delaware small, but it's small. Doesn't take long to drive from one end to the other. Yeah, but it's not north like the Berkshires, Salem. It's not way north.
Yeah, it's right on the ocean.
It's on the ocean.
It's one of the biggest, during colonial times, it's one of the three big, most populated cities. Early colonial times.
Yeah.
Big trading area.
Yeah. I mean, and we used to go to what everybody out of state calls Plymouth Rock, but those of us who live in Massachusetts call Plymouth Pebble.
I've never heard that, actually, but that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Joe says, just figured that's got to be a great paranormal town. It is. It's a great paranormal town. It really is. And it's haunted. It really is haunted.
For obvious reasons.
For obvious reason, yeah. When you get burnt at the stake, you kind of hang around for a while.
There's a great art movement there, and like music movement. Like I used to be in a band, and we used to play up there a lot, and at Gulu and other places in Salem. And so just a good vibe there. A lot of like almost like Burlington, Vermont, or like almost San Francisco a little bit without as much money.
Yeah, without very much money at all. It's a very creative town.
Yes.
It attracts a lot of creative people.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
It is. It's that same kind of feeling. Like P-Town, Providence.
Yes.
It's like that. Everybody creative goes there and hangs out. And yeah, it's a great place to go to a coffee shop and read your poetry.
Exactly.
You know, I think you could do that. Well, I'm going to let you know how to get in touch with Peter. His website is peterfcrowleyauthor.com, and that's PeterFcrowley author, AUTHOR. And if you would like to email him, you can email him at PeteFran@gmail.com. So that's PeterFranCrowley@gmail. And I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. And what will they find on your website?
Just information about my latest readings and interviews or various things that I'm involved in, and then all the latest places I've been published, what's coming out, any new news. Maybe if I have a book coming out, I don't have anything planned, but if I have something like new coming out, like a new book or something, that'll be kind of on my news, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then contact information, of course, but you just provided that.
Yeah. Well, it's a good place to go for your contact information too. And do you have a blog? Do you post a blog or no?
No, I don't. I've always been a little reluctant with social media. I think it's a necessary evil, especially as a indie author, to do it.
It is.
I really don't like it. So I should, even having a website, I didn't have one until right before I published my first book. And I had my friend who's a front-end designer, he did it for me, luckily.
He said, you better do this.
Yeah. It was pretty simple. He does a lot more complex things. And I could probably do it. It's just like this resistance to do it. I don't know.
I do know.
Okay. Well, let's take our last break here, and we'll come back. We'll be talking with Peter a little bit more, so don't go away, folks.
It's every parent's worst nightmare. Police officer Madison Jackson awakes to discover her baby kidnapped from her crib. Was it revenge for someone she arrested, or something far more sinister? Madison's estranged husband is incarcerated in Supermax. As the second in command of a deadly Mexican cartel, did he issue the order to abduct their daughter? Bye, Baby, Bye, from author Kelly Marshall. Get your copy today.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
Step into the captivating world of skullduggery, where a family of isolated peasant copyholders finds themselves thrust into a web of danger that threatens their very existence. Set against the tumultuous backdrop of the English Reformation, this meticulously researched historical mystery unfolds with a cast of both lovable and despicable characters, immersing you in a fully realized world that's both utterly believable and fantastically unbelievable. Author Paul Rushworth Brown weaves a spellbinding narrative that transports you to Yorkshire, England, in the 16th and 17th centuries, offering an authentic and gritty portrayal of peasant life. The pages come alive with vivid descriptions, crafting an atmosphere that pulls you deeper into a story of crime, murder, and suspense like no other.
Hi, I'm Paul Rushworth Brown, author of Skullduggery, Red Winter Journey, and Demon Courage, just recently released. I hope you enjoy Skullduggery, the second edition. Cheers.
And we're back. Yeah, actually, thinking about what Joe had said about, that he's not surprised that I grew up near Salem and that, that it was a paranormal town. Pretty much all of Massachusetts is well known for being haunted. As a matter of fact, Kindred Spirits, which is Adam Berry and Amy, I can remember her last name. I'm terrible with last name. Anyway, they're going to be doing a show from an estate in Massachusetts. And when we were talking on the pre-show yesterday, I told you that when I lived in the exact same town that you're in, I had a spirit that you would come through my living room every day at 3:00 in the afternoon, like clockwork. And it was definitely a spirit in period piece. Have you ever seen Ghostbusters?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
There's that scene in the library. It's the first ghost that you see. And this ghost comes floating through the library. And then her face goes all weird and crazy.
Yeah,
right?
I can picture that. Yeah.
Okay. She looked just like that, except without the going really crazy, weird skeleton face. But she looked very similar to that ghost. And I was shocked. And I can remember hitting Rob like about 15 times while we're watching the movie going, remember that ghost I told you I'd saw? That one, it looked just like that. Well, then I found out that, I forget who it is. I can see his face. It's terrible getting old. You have all these senior moments. Anyway, one of the three Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd. That's his name, right? Dan Aykroyd?
Yeah.
Okay. His father was a spiritualist minister. And so he grew up in the middle of paranormal and learning about paranormal and learning about spirit and talking to spirit and everything. He described and thought of that particular ghost. So I believe it was something that he'd seen before. And that's why it looks so real to me, because it moved the same way and everything. And I was like, okay, this is so weird. I mean, I've seen lots of stories with ghosts and nothing ever struck me like that. And I was like, whoa. It just, it really startled me. But I think, for some reason, I think Massachusetts just has attracted a lot of spirit,
When you encounter them, do you get nervous, scared at all? Or are you just kind of, I don't know. What's your reaction?
When we're around spirit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we like it,
Yeah.
We're not, we can be startled, but we're not scared. I mean, if somebody's threatening, I don't care whether they're living or dead, you're not going to be real happy about that. We don't usually run into threatening spirit,
And it takes hours and hours and hours to do investigations. And most of it is just sitting there.
Waiting.
And so when something happens, whoa, it's like, whoa,
And then you're happy.
And then you're happy. Okay. All right. Let's go here.
Yeah. And so, but no, when I see things, I'm not scared. We see things a lot. I mean, we've both been touched and by an unseen person. So, and I don't mind that either. As a matter of fact, the last investigation we were on was in a historical home that our team was investigating that night. And so a docent was leading us through all the rooms and telling us what we could touch and what we couldn't touch. And we went into this one room, and as soon as we walked in the room, I felt a male spirit was close by. And the next thing I knew, he was pulling on the back of my hair. And so I did this, and the docent turned and looked at me, and she said, "Oh, there's a man in here that likes to pull women's hair." And I said, "Yep," because she could see that he had just done it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that didn't scare me or startle me because, I could already feel somebody close to me. So I wasn't like, ah.
I wanted to ask you, Peter, in that night and other stories, what would you say the main genre is, or is there any one particular genre?
There isn't. You already said.
There isn't a particular genre, really, but there is a kind of mood for the most part. Maybe not in every story, but a little satiric, a little kind of dark too. I don't think it's enough like good dark writing these days. I think it's like either you murder someone or it's some like romance. I don't know. It's too simplistic. I think too black and white, and the world isn't like that. So it's grayer, more nebulous with surrealism mixed in and absurdist kind of short fiction stuff. It's got a mix of those kind of, but okay. I think that encapsulates it the best possible way.
Yeah, sort of like the one you read.
Yeah.
That's kind of the flavor of the whole book.
For the most part, yeah.
That's what I thought. Just wanted to clarify.
Stories that make you think.
Hopefully. I mean, some are just kind of humorous and kind of like punny, like a little bit, or satirically humorous, or trying to be humorous. Who knows if they are. Stuff like that. But yeah. But
isn't that true?
Yeah.
When you're writing and you think it's really funny, and then you think, well, I hope other people think that's funny.
Right. Exactly. Who knows, right?
Right. Who knows?
Yeah. When I read aloud like stuff from this book, it's usually that, or it's like something like more straight ahead. It's more like catchy. I think it's more like someone dumping someone else. So that's not as dark. That's kind of standard, I would say. But that's like some small details of that.
Yeah. That one was spooky, scary though.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad it was spooky.
It was. That was really good. Oh, and so you were asking about how we feel about ghosts and stuff like that, and really, we're not afraid. We're looking for them, and that's what we're there for. However, that's not to say that when we go into a creepy place that we don't feel like it's creepy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you go into like what you described was kind of creepy, that was creepy. And I think anyone living someplace where they knew someone had committed suicide, that would make you feel a little creepy, iffy.
Yeah. I always used to feel weird going down into my basement, especially late at night when I was by myself. I try not to do it if I smoked like a lot of marijuana. Of course I did sometimes. I challenge myself sometimes, but
not that you would have done that. But
no, if I had done.
If you had done. And if it had happened to be a night when it promoted paranoia,
right, exactly.
Then it would have been really bad.
Yes,
Where in the house did it take place?
It was in the basement. There's like
it was in the basement.
It's partially finished, and then not really partially finished. There's a wooden kind of up a little above the ground, and then there's a cement floor. So there's pipes running across from the furnace through the house, like dark old pipes.
Sure.
And up there, and then I guess my parents, when they moved in, after they moved in, there were some people in the house that were camped out. Like I guess the person who killed himself, they had like this group of kind of heavy drug users, not like marijuana, like strong, like heavy drug users. They would hang out there, and I think the person who killed himself, their brother died from something, and he was kind of depressed about that. And then he killed himself, and then his friends still hung out there afterwards sometimes, and they were still in the house. I think actually not when my parents moved in, but when they were viewing the house to see if they wanted to buy it. There were people there in the basement.
Did he hang himself in the basement?
Yeah, by one of the pipes.
Mm.
And it's weird, when I was like 18, 1998, or maybe 1997. My cat was a year old. Sorry, I called her. And all of a sudden, I come down and she's just dead in the basement. On the floor. And cats don't usually just die, don't fall, really, right? Cats know how to fall.
No. Right.
But there are a lot of stuff in the bookshelves. They could have fallen an old game or something, or maybe slipped and like hit their head. So I just found her there. She was a year old, and just like that was really.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I was a senior in high school. It's like,
that's terrible. It's hard to lose a pet. It's, they're like a family member. It's really
and so
really
young.
hard. Yeah,
surprise. It was very surprising.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that when we've investigated where there has been a suicide or a murders also, that does really, it holds really bad vibes for a really long time. It's just, it usually feels really bad. So I'm not at all, it's like, crystal stores energy, right? And we can use crystal then in radios and all kinds of things to transmit. Crystal holds energy. And so lots of times I believe that there are things that can actually hold energy. So when there's something really shocking like that, I think it can be held in the area. And so you can feel it. So that was probably part of the creepiness of going down into that basement, is still just some of that energy was still
there.
Yeah. Not necessarily the person, but the psychic energy of that happening.
Right.
It had to be tough.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a good story. A good story. We'll go with that.
We have another comment. So Marjorie Deering said, unfinished basements do seem really creepy sometimes. With all the exposed pipes and such, it's like hanging out in the skeleton of the house. Oh, that's an author's way of looking at it, Marjorie. Very good picture you painted there. Yeah.
Very nice.
Ah, and you're right. Basements, and old basements can seem really creepy. We lived in a house in upstate New York that it was 150 years old. It was on the historical, whatever thing it is, and
register.
The historical register, and it had no cement in it. It was all dirt and fieldstone that was put together with clay. Huh. My gosh, that was really creepy.
That was a terrible basement.
It was. I wouldn't go down there.
Yeah.
Joe Conjal asked, "What's worse, creepy basement or creepy attic?" Basement.
Basement, I agree.
Yeah.
Except you don't have a start of hall.
Well, out the window, but
yeah.
What's worse,
go out the window.
Exactly, creepy basement. I still think creepy basement attics are usually brighter than attics. Attics are usually brighter than basements. So
do you think it's a light thing, the light aspect of it, or do you think it's something?
I think that when there's light someplace, you don't feel as stressed out as you do when it's really dark.
Yeah.
It's like when you go investigating a house at night and you turn up all the lights, you don't have to do that. I mean, no. Spirit doesn't need it to be dark to to communicate, but
yeah, of course. Yeah.
It sets the mood.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, it was just about
this has been really great. Thank you for your reading and everything.
One more. Bill Nelson.
Bill Nelson, tough call. Basements and attic. Equally I agree, Bill. I agree.
Well, let's admit, an attic that has, old dress dummies and
creepy dolls, like
creepy dolls.
Creepy dolls, yeah.
And cobwebs.
George says basements are already underground, so like buried already, right? Good questions. All right. Well, we're going to move you over and say goodnight to everybody. And thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Been great having you on.
Being on.
And stay right where we're at until we come back to you, okay?
Sure.
Don't forget, everybody, next Wednesday is author David Clegg, UK author. He's a science fiction author. And that's at 7 o'clock next week right here where you've been watching. And
it's a pre-record.
Pre-record, yeah.
And it's and also the next night will be the haunted. What is it?
No.
Isn't it?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Never mind. Anyway.
Another great show.
Thanks to Peter, of course,
thanks to
Joan.
Peter, and of course, Rob and Joan. Marjorie Daring says, thanks, Joan, Rob, and Peter. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Marjorie and Joe.
Appreciate everybody. And I guess.
That's right.
Until next time.
That's all.
That's all, folks. I think that's quite enough.
Yeah.
Good night, all.
Good night. See you.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DV